Okay, welcome back to the next video in our probability series. Today we're going to look at describing probability. So to describe probability, we do this out of 1. Okay, our number line is just 1. You may have heard me mention this in the past. If you're in grade 7 and you're watching this, you know I've mentioned this in the past. So let's talk about what this means. So if we go back to the previous video, I mentioned that in order to roll a number that is odd, you had a 3 out of 6 chance, which meant 1 over 2, which meant 0.5. So we would label that right in the middle here. This is approximately the middle, 0.5. So another way to describe this is by saying you have an equally likely chance to roll an odd number and not roll an odd number. So, or in other words, to roll an even number, you would have an equally likely chance. So equally likely is when it's 0.5 or 1 over 2 or 50%. That means anything can happen, one or the other. Just like with a coin. If I flip this coin, it was heads. It is equally likely to get heads and tails because there are only 2 options. Okay, let's go back to this example here. I asked you, or I said that, what is the probability of you rolling a number that's larger than 4? There are only 2 numbers larger than 4, 5, and 6, so that's 2 over 6, which would equal to 1 over 3, which equals 0.33. So that would look like this. Okay? And what we would say is that to roll a number, oops, I'm spelling wrong. It's been out of school for so long. To roll a number larger than 4 is unlikely. This is unlikely to happen. You have a better chance of rolling 1, 2, 3, 4 rather than 5 or 6. Okay? Here is another example here. So let's explore these examples. With this spinner here, what is the probability of landing on the letter C? Well, there are 4 outcomes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's only one letter C. So in this case, it's 1 over 4. And if you recall from your previous unit, 1 over 4 is 0.25. So that is your probability. And again, this would be unlikely. Okay, here is another example of a spinner. And I'm going to ask you, what is the probability of you rolling an A? So here there are only 2 possible outcomes. However, okay, this is where it's going to be a little different than what I mentioned before. There are still 4 parts to this spinner. And to get an A, there are 3 of them. So your probability would be 3 out of 4, which equals 0.75, which equals 75%. I like writing the percent too because the grade 7s can use that. I'm more of a percent person, but anyways. So to get an A on this spinner, you would have to come back over here, 0.75. In this one here, you would say likely. Now, a couple more. Let's use this spinner again. What is the probability that you will spin and land on the letter C? Well, there are 4 options. There is no C. 0. 0 chance. So this is not going to happen. Okay, so it cannot happen. Impossible is what we say in probability. This is impossible. I'm making a lot of mistakes today. Whatever, you know what I'm trying to write. Give me a break here, okay? It's Friday. Well, I'm recording this on a Friday. So this is when there's absolutely 0 chance of having an outcome. So if there's this one, we need to look at this one here. And let's look at the dice, the die. I'm gonna ask you, what is the probability of rolling a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? Well, those are all the options on this one. So that would be 6 out of 6. And when you divide 6 by 6, you get 1. This right here is called certain. That means it's definitely going to happen. It's the only thing that can happen. Okay, so the more you go this way, so this one here in the middle is equally likely. The more you go this way, it increases. So if once you start getting to this area here, you would say highly likely. And then when you go down this way, once you get around this area here, you would say highly unlikely. Another example you will see in your work is it's going to give you a spinner, and it's going to say to you, create a spinner where landing on the number 3 is a 50% chance. 50%. So now there are 6 pieces to the spinner. We know that 3 of them need to be the same in order for it to be a 50% probability. So how you would do this is 1, 2, 3. You want 3 of them there. And the other 3 numbers here, doesn't matter what they are, as long as they're not 3s. 1, you can do a 7, you can do a 15. Okay, this spinner shows us that there is a 50% chance to roll a 3. Okay, so now you're going to see this written in many different ways in your book. You're going to see it as a fraction, and in this case the fraction is 3 over 6 or 1 over 2. You're going to see it written as a decimal, which will look like this. You will also see it written as a percentage. Okay, there are plenty of videos that show you how to do this from the previous unit. This is why you needed to do all that work prior to this video here. Okay, so this is how we measure probability right here. Okay, and a probability goes on a number line that stops at 1. It is impossible to have a number greater than 1 in probability, and it's also impossible to have a number less than 0. This does not happen. Probability always falls between 0 and 1. That's it. If you get a number higher than 1, then you did something wrong. Okay, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.